Hello, what is up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Piglet here, and I'm from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, and ladies and gentlemen, we'll present to you our next new Let's Play through the forms of the Sonic series, and this time we're gonna be once again going back into the Game Boy Advance platform, and because of this, we are tackling through Sonic Advance 2 for the Game Boy Advance. First came out in 2002 in Japan, and a year later in the English version in 2003, as you can see for that particular copyright stuff. So anyways, much like in the forms of Sonic Advance 1, I'm going to be playing this on the emulator because I don't feel like able to play for this all over again on my normal cartridge. So anyways, let's get this thing to it. So we have the usual Sonic the Hedgehog here as a playable character, and the rest of these characters were locked. So right from the get-go, that you only have to play as Sonic from now on, unless you do need to unlock various other characters later on throughout the majority of the playthrough. So, anyways, let's get into the first zone in Sonic Advance 2, and that's what appears to be Leaf Forest. And for the gameplay stuff in the forms of Sonic Advance 2, the newest thing about this game compared to Advance 1 is that this game has a lot of emphasis on speed. Like every time whenever you run into certain points, and if you run for a longest amount of time, I believe it's called the boost state, where basically if you manage to run for a certain amount of time, certain characters can able to run really fast. Even though this is before when the boost formula comes into play, when it gets to Sonic Rush, Sonic Unleashed, etc, etc. But usually, relatively speaking, is the fact that every time when you run too fast, or even just activate the actual speed booster, you get yourselves a boost state. And by the way, this is the only time you're going to be seeing it underwater right there. And because of that though, I'll point things out whenever we get into the later zones in this game, so... If you're probably wondering, what's up with these little gold dots right there, if you're probably wondering, these are the special stage rings. And believe me, the special stages in this game, well, usually getting them is such a hassle, but the actual special stages themselves, I'll talk more about it as soon as we get this 7th and the final special stage ring in this particular zone. And that's how you get to this special stage, and believe me, it's a tedious slog, and this is the perfect example of why that this process of this Let's Play, it took forever to able to do this kinds of stuff. But we'll mention more about it later. So here's the special stage in Sonic Advance 2. It kind of reminds me of Sonic CD for a little bit. Like, it's like a first-person kind of stuff. And basically, rather than just destroying those UFOs, unlike in Sonic CD, instead we're going to be collecting those rings. And the target amount of rings you're going to have to reach up for is, of course, 300 rings. And as you can tell from the forms of... what the hell was that? That particular robot does look familiar, doesn't it? Well, we'll turn around as soon as we're able to turn around and back. So yeah, as you can see, for that ×2 right there, this is actually a ring chain reaction. And believe me, you're gonna have to do this a lot, by the way, especially noticeable, really... Is that Zero? From Sonic Adventure? Oh my god, he's back and alive! Gee, no wonder why after the events of Sonic Adventure when Amy did manage to blow him off. But jeez, I have no idea why he brings it back. Anyway, for the ring chain reaction thing, basically is the fact that whenever you come towards those a whole bunch of rings, like sometimes in a line, sometimes on a curve, sometimes you have to build up your ring chain reaction, because the more you do it, the more rings your value can get. And believe me, this will be helpful, especially noticeable when it gets to the later special stage. Well, let's just say the hardest one of the bunch though, spoiler warning for those of you who want to know what's gonna come up. The hardest one of the bunch is obviously Special Stage 7, just because you know what the actual challenge is like. But honestly, the special stages in this game is actually rather easy compared to the forms of how it does it on Advance 1. Although, to be fair though, the only hardest part about it is that you have to get on with the actual, the ring chain system. And, if you manage to do it well enough, then you would able to actually reach 300 rings no problem. And also, I'm gonna have to let the time run out, by the way, because if I somehow manage to grab 300 rings, I can't afford to able to press the pause menu and just quit the actual special stage, because otherwise it'll kick me out. So, yeah, that's the first Chaos Emerald. Once again, there are 7 Chaos Emeralds in the game, so but either way though, to be expected with most Sonic games now and then, including 7 Time Stones in Sonic CD, so but either way though, that's how I can usually think about it. And as you can tell from the actual start, from the forms of the very first act in Leaf's Force Zone, is that, as you can tell, we have a trick system. Depending on, if you manage to press the R button, depending on what direction you're going to be going, like up, down, left or right, or usually, relatively speaking, it's just up, down, or right, or up, left, or right. Basically, if you press the R button when you try to pull off, when you try to press the up directional pad, it allows you to able to perform a double jump, which is very useful. And especially noticeable whenever we get onto the 5th zone in the game, believe me, there's going to be a lot of death situations until later on. But if you're most able to pull off the, well, if you press the R button when you press either right or I think it's usually left, that you get yourselves like a backflip or something. Even though it has been a really long time since I actually played this game. I think the last time I played this game was actually about a decade ago. Probably it's because of how the fact that I was busy playing through WarioWare DIY back in the day for the Nintendo DS. So here we go, on to the first boss in Sonic Advance 2, and it looks like this time it's gonna be Ultra Running. And also, as you can see, that Dr. Eggman has managed to got someone. So in this case, we do need to save that new character of any sorts. In this case, the new introduction of the actual character, where her name was Cream the Rabbit. And this was her first ever playable debut, and also she is the first ever debut of her. If you think that Sonic Heroes managed to firstly introduce her, well, you're wrong, because otherwise, this was her first ever debut. So yeah, that's pretty swell. So the first boss in this game is actually known as Egg Hammer Tank 2. Want to know why? Well, it seems pretty obvious because once again Dr. Eggman utilized the hammer, and obviously he rides on that particular tank. So yeah, you get the idea with this boss fight. Easily the most easiest boss in the game, assuming if you're trying to able to dodge that particular, you know, the actual hammer itself. So, but either way though, that's all I can say about the actual bosses themselves, but hey, at least it's something. Wow, you're the famous Mr. Sonic. Thank you very much for saving me. What a polite girl. See you later, and don't get caught again. Oh, wait a minute. Mom's still in trouble. I need to go help her. So anyways, once you defeat certain boss fights, you can now able to actually play as certain playable characters. Such as, for instance, I'm gonna have to cut the footage off for that specific footage. And because of that though, I'm gonna be focusing on the next character in the 2nd zone in the game, known as Hot Crater. But before we get into that, if you press the up button, you can able to actually see the up animation. Like, for example, Cream can able to actually lick up or lick the, well, the ice cream. So yeah, that's actually pretty cute, and plus it's very enjoyable to see. Even though, usually in the previous Sonic games, that if you manage to press the directional pad up, basically you can able to actually look up on the surroundings. But in this game, it's the fact that they actually replaced them as in the forms of somewhat similar to the idle animation, except you place in the up button instead of like standing still for about few or so seconds or something like that. Which I will say, it does have some bit of charm to it though, which either way though, that's all I can really say about that. And obviously, if you couldn't tell, it's the fact that much like in Sonic Advance 1 Let's Play, as what Sonic has already done that Let's Play ever since in summer, well, usually as far as August as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to be going for 100% completion, this meaning about the fact that I'm going to be grabbing all the Chaos Emeralds throughout the whole game. But here's some nitpicking with this though, is the fact that unlike in Sonic Advance 1, that usually relatively speaking is the fact that all you have to do in Sonic Advance 1 in order to able to actually go ahead and get that Chaos Emerald and even actually access to a special stage, you have to find those little special springs in order to able to actually make it to the special stage. In this game, as I said before, you have to collect all 7 of those special stage rings. Exactly 7, mind you, so it's not like there are 10 of them in each level, but usually you have to get exactly 7 of these little special stage rings. And believe me, again, as I said this before, it's a tedious slog, which as a result, this is the reason why it's gonna take so long to able to actually do this processing going. In fact, let me know in the comments below about the fact that what you think about the actual process of the special stages in the entire Sonic Advance trilogy. Well, usually relatively speaking, I don't honestly find Sonic Advance 1 to be all that much of a problem. It's just the depth perception issues with the actual special stages themselves. And this game does have its tedium all in all when it comes to likely trying to find those special stage rings. And oh boy, whenever we get onto Advance 3 though, it'll be a nightmare. Especially noticeable how the fact that usually the level design in Advance 3, I will have to say is one of the weakest of the series because of this level design, which I'm sure most people already know what I'm talking about for this point right here, but then again, we'll talk more about it until Advance 3, until specifically next year. So because of this though, because obviously today's day is of course the 8th of December today, in this case in 2020, so naturally speaking we've only got about 17 days to go until Christmas time, so should be pretty exciting and all that stuff though, even though despite the fact that this year is still really bad. But I digress. So as you can see, we ended up in the second special stage. Now, generally speaking, it's the fact that this is actually the 4th attempt for doing my special stage run-throughs, is because if you really want to see any of the special features, or specifically if you want to unlock certain features, like there was like 4 feature unlockables. Like there was, well, I'm not gonna spoil things majorly, but in order to able to get the 4 remaining unlockables for the sake of this game actually has to offer, there are a grand total, well, unless if you want to replay through 4 characters within the exact same special stages, there's a grand total of 28 Chaos Emeralds in total. Meaning about the fact that normally there are 7 in total, which is pretty standard stuff, but if you really want to do the game 4 times in a row, let's just say for example, if you really want to play through the game again as Cream, or even Tails, or even Knuckles for that matter, then there's a grand total of 28 Chaos Emeralds in total. Yeah, that seems quite a lot, doesn't it? Even though this is a handheld game, so at least you can able to actually play on the go. So at least that's something, alright. But if you really want to look for those godforsaking of those special stage rings, well, there is a guide that you could probably try to follow, but usually I did manage to look it up on my own time, so that I can able to actually search for those stupid special stage rings. And usually sometimes they are very well hidden, and sometimes it can be pretty impossible to obtain them. Most notably because you have to get a lot of exploration going. And again, that's the perfect example of why that usually this processing of this editing of Sonic Advance 2 Let's Play can take a lot longer compared to the forms of Advance 1. But even then though, that's as far as I can usually say about this. By the way, if you're probably wondering if what happens if you manage to get in contact with Zero the robot right here, basically if you somehow manage to go into a completely standstill, or even if you decide to turn around, if Zero managed to caught up with you, you will lose 10 rings. So it's not too bad, unlike the ones and how it does it in let's just say these well-placed bombs during the forms of Sonic Pocket Adventure as well as Sonic Advance. That's usually relatively speaking because of how the fact that sometimes you never know of what's gonna coming up ahead. But usually in Sonic Advance 2, that there aren't any bombs around here. I mean, the only thing you do need to worry about is, of course, in terms of special stages in this game, is of course the actual ring chain reaction, and also same applies to the time limit, and finally Zero himself. Even though I'll have to be honest here, I think Zero is not that much of a threat at all, although the only timing that makes everyone else a little bit troublesome at points is, of course, the 7th and the final special stage. We'll point things out whenever we get into it, so. But yeah, how it works for Cream the Rabbit, if for those of you probably wondering why I haven't discussed about it. Cream the Rabbit, she kind of feels like somewhat similar to Tails in Sonic Advance 1, except the fact that she has the most broken ability in the whole game. Even then though, I can definitely see why that most people seem to love playing as Cream the Rabbit. I actually really don't mind Cream the Rabbit. She's actually a pretty cool, oh crap, there's a bottomless pit. Oh boy. First step for the playthrough. I do apologize for that point, folks. The only problem I have with this game sometimes is the fact that this game does have a lot of emphasis on bottomless pits sometimes, which I can definitely see why, that this game has the most bottomless pit heavy compared to the forms of how it does it on Advance 1. And, also, whenever we get onto Sonic Advance 3, as I said before, honestly, I think the level design in Advance 3 is one of the worst in the series. Just because there's going to be a lot of frustration traps here and there, and also a lot of emphasis on crushing blocks and all that jazz, and it just feels kind of annoying. But I digress. For Cream the Rabbit right here, basically she can still fly, just like the forms of how Tails usually flies, and she has the broken ability, which is of course her companion, Cheese, which usually that's her companion as a Chow. And basically, if you manage to press the B button while you're able to actually just trying to deal with the most broken ability in the whole game, although I'll get to more on that in a second, because the next boss in the game, which appears to be by the forms of Egg Bomber Tank, or Tank rather, because the reason why I'm pointing this out, because that's the name of this boss, by the way. So yeah, as you can see, if you manage to press the attack button, or the B button, depending on what stipulation you might go for, Cheese can able to actually not only defeat enemies with that particular move, but also designates boss fights as well, which can be pretty easy to able to actually just to deal with them, even though sometimes that the second boss did give me a hard time sometimes, because I will have to admit though, I'm blame on the emulator for that. So yeah, look at that, she decimates bosses, which I will say, that is kind of satisfying, I'm not gonna lie. But she still plays out pretty much exactly like most of any other characters here and there, such as, of course, she plays like Sonic, and, yeah, I always enjoyed that. So yeah, that's as far as I can say in terms of Cream the Rabbit in this game. She's actually a really cool character to introduce, and then she'll able to become the most stable character in the future games and beyond. So, you get the idea. So as you can see right there, we're going to be replaying as Sonic the Hedgehog again, and except the fact that we are now going to be ended up on the third and possibly the uniquest zone in the whole game, which appears to be Music Plant, which this particular zone reminds me of so much of Music Park from the likes of Mario Kart 7/ Mario Kart 8/8 Deluxe, and because of this though, everything else is all musical themed based zone. Which I will say, I actually really enjoyed this zone. I kinda wish if this zone will make its appearance in the forms of Sonic Generations for the 3DS. I mean, usually relatively speaking, I'm okay with the Sonic Rush level from the Sonic Generations on the 3DS, like obviously contains Water Palace Zone, but I will have to admit though right away is the fact that I kinda wish if this zone exists. I would say during the forms of the handheld era, like usually for Music Plant in Sonic Advance 2, but unfortunately though, that doesn't seem to make it happen, so... Oh well, beggars selves can't be choosers, I suppose. And much like the forms of Sonic Advance 1, specifically in the Japanese release, basically, just like in Sonic Advance 1, this game also receives the Nintendo Wii U Virtual Console re-release version, but only exclusive to Japan, sadly. So, I still have no idea why that in the English versions throughout, we never seem to get Sonic Advance 1 and Advance 2 on the Virtual Console re-release versions on the Wii U, which I have no idea why, mind you, but unless if you try to able to hack your Wii U to able to actually get it that way, but unfortunately though, that doesn't seem to able to, like, do justice, I don't think. But I digress. Not much else I can honestly talk about, apart from the fact that, well, relatively speaking, it's just the fact of the matter is, though, is the fact that I'm actually really looking forward to able to actually just to... Oh, son of a... Anyway, I'm actually really looking forward to doing this game, even though originally I wasn't gonna do it at first, just because of that tedious slog special stage method, like, you know, just trying to get these godforsaken 7 of those special rings. But I highly recommend you able to actually look up on Act 1 variations of some of these zones, because, well, thankfully I can able to actually easily memorize any other layouts of those special stage rings in Act 1 variations of some of these zones themselves. Although you can also do them in Act 2, but honestly I have a loss of memory for Act 2 variations, so usually for Act 1, I always attempt to do those exponentially, so... And unlike the ones in Sonic Blast for the Game Gear, is the fact that you do have 2 attempts for each zone for able to actually get the corresponding colors of those Chaos Emeralds. Like, you can obviously grab the Chaos Emerald in this game for between Act 1 or Act 2, depending on what, if you feel comfortable with it. But usually in Sonic Blast, that if you go through a special stage in Act 1, all the rewards you can only get is just an extra life. In Act 2, on the other hand, though, you get yourself a Chaos Emerald, so that's how it usually goes, basically, in terms of the actual methods of those specific special stage methods, so... But I digress. And I do apologize with the actual jinxed up frame rate, as you can tell from the start, though. This is most obvious, because obviously I'm playing this game on the emulator, so forgive me on that part. But at least the quality itself is actually not too bad, actually. Even though I was originally able to go to do this game on the Game Boy Player on my Game Boy Advance cartridge, but I refuse to do the 2 because usually I just don't feel like just trying to start all over again on my save file, because I refuse to able to actually do all that stuff. That could be also same applies for you know, as far as what Sonic has already mentioned us before about in Sonic Advance 1 Let's Play, that he also refuses to do that. And same applies to Sonic Advance 3, which we'll point things out whenever we get into next year, as we said this before, so... But I digress. And as you can see, there are a ton of rings during the forms of those special stages. Obviously, there are some occasional 5 rings, which obviously allows you to add 5 rings in particular. So that's all I have to really say about this for the most part, so... the only time you do fail the special stage is actually 2 different failures if you do manage to fail the special stage. The failure number 1 is the fact that if you don't have enough rings, and then if you let the time run out, then it says special stage itself, as far as the result screen goes. But if you have no rings, and if you somehow get hit by 0, that also counts as a failed attempt. So, just want to classify that. And I believe, if you somehow manage to have, like, no rings in a special stage at all, and then if you somehow get hit by 0 at the end, I'm pretty sure it gets, like, a miserable music going on, just like in Sonic Advance 1, so... Anyway, this is Sonic's up animation, by the way. He's preparing for get tons of speed going, and he's fully prepared, so... Yeah, that's something, I suppose. So yeah, one thing I actually do appreciate about this zone is the fact that, obviously it's all unique and everything, but it's also, it's easy without a doubt. I will have to say, this is one of my favorite zones in the game. Although, my second favorite will have to be later on, though, which we'll point things out whenever we get into that zone eventually, but either way, though, as you can see, for those springs, it's actually being replaced by those simple springs, which I will say, it is super unique and interesting, to say the least. Like, why can't you just bring back this zone? Like, seriously, Sega. Seriously. But oh well, it's not the end of the world. But I digress. As far as you notice already, is the fact that one thing I should probably mention about this as well, that this is actually one of my first ever Sonic Advance games I actually not only played, but also I've actually got back in long time ago, because while I didn't exactly got Sonic Advance 1 until like 2014, and I've managed to finally got Sonic Advance 1 back in the day, that is. But usually I first got this game back in, I would say, in 2004 or something, which, geez, that must have been for a very, very long time, actually. And, I remember fully enjoyed this game. Sure, there are some frustrating moments here and there, such as, of course, bottomless pit heavy in certain zones. Specifically, when we get onto the 5th zone in the game, which, believe me, you know exactly what I mean, until whenever we get into that particular zone, so, yeah, that's how it goes. And obviously, much like in Sonic Advance 1, there are 2 different difficulties you can select if you manage to start the game off. There is the easy mode, and there's also the normal mode. Now, normally back in the day, I always attempt to... What the hell? What's going on with that symbol? Anyway, you know, back in the day, I always attempt to go for the actual whole entire game on easy mode. But since I'm now usually a hardcore player, I can pretty much guarantee I can able to do this on a normal mode now. So because of that though, normal mode is my kind of thing until whenever I do this Let's Play in particular. So that's the whole entire suggestion. Sure, there might be some annoying moments like those cheap enemy placements sometimes, although whenever we get onto Advance 3, it just gets a little bit worse and worse. Because although I'm not a big fan of Advance 3 compared to the forms of the other two, because I will say, Sonic Advance 2 is really good. Even greater than the forms of how it does it on Advance 3, that's for sure. But then again, we'll talk more about that until whenever we get into next year for Sonic Advance 3, so... Because believe me, it just gets a bit annoying. In terms of level design wise. Alright, so now we come to the third boss in the game, and oh no, he kidnaps Tails! So we have to rescue him. And basically, the next boss, as you can see, his name was Egg Titan. Or Titan. Oh, I don't know what you call it that. So basically, in this boss, is the fact that you have to use those little spinny little circular platforms, as you can see, what Eggman decides to able to toss at. And basically, you can able to use those as platforms, and then you can able to jump on him at the right moment until you're able to actually get enough damage on him. So, and obviously, much like in any other Eggman's boss fights, ever since in Sonic Advance 1, obviously has like 8 hit points. So obviously it shouldn't that much of it. I honestly don't mind about that at all because usually I'm pretty much accustomed to it. Oh, every once in a while though, sometimes the actual projectiles might able to actually start to come in, but honestly, they're not that much of a problem, although the only time it does get a little bit of a fickle sometimes is that sometimes they always pop up, so... But anyway, when you get enough hits on him, then not only does the music plant zone is completed, but also we've rescued Tails, so how's that for that one? And by the way, whenever you get onto the halfway point of these boss fights, it starts to go in pinch mode, so I just want to classify that. Thanks, Sonic. Eggman just come out of nowhere. Eggman, what do you see you plotting this time? I've gotta hurry. See ya, Tails. Huh? Sonic, wait for me! I'm afraid I'm gonna have to end things off here, so I'll see you guys until on part 2. I don't know if anything else I can discuss on this point, so I'll see you guys on Thursday.